Okay, welcome everyone and thank you. I particularly want to thank President Biden and his administration for establishing the opportunity for civil society around the world to organize side events during the Summit for Democracy. In just a minute, I will put two links into the chat. If you want to learn more about the Summit for Democracy, let me do that right now, chat. Oops. Oh dear, so many people are logging in. It's blocking my little chat window. Oh, here we go. Okay, there they are. There are those links. And if you are tweeting or using any kind of social media, please use the hashtags Summit for Democracy and Shift the Power so that people know what we're here to do. I'm going to take just a moment to introduce the movement and the agenda. So the first part of our agenda will be to welcome everyone and introduce very briefly to the Movement for Community-Led Development. And then we are very honored to have Governor Hilary Barchuk as our keynote speaker. We'll hear presentations from South Africa, Zambia, and India. And then we will have breakout groups so that people can have a more informal time interacting with our speakers. You'll be able to select which breakout group you want to go into. The Movement for Community-Led Development was launched on September 25th, 2015 at the United Nations, the day that the Sustainable Development Goals were launched. We have 1,500 community-based organizations that are members of the movement, more than 74 international NGOs, and we have national chapters in many countries, a growing number of countries, and we have global working groups that work together to compile evidence, to support the advocacy work and the facilitation work of community-led development around the world. We have 5 goals, and these goals are very relevant to what you're going to be hearing today. The first is voice and agency for women, youth, and marginalized groups. The second is adequate community finance. At least 20% of the national budget of countries should be in the hands of local communities. And we'll actually hear shortly from a country where that is now a reality. There should be good local governance, and by that we mean democratic local governance. In some countries, local governments are simply appointed. They aren't directly accountable to the people they serve. There should be quality public services, and there should be the information, skills, and resources that communities need to be resilient. So those are our 5 goals. I'm now going to introduce our keynote speaker for today. You see him there on the left alongside our Kenya coordinator. The 4 countries that are represented today are pioneers in advancing our 5 goals. And we're starting with the most challenging goal, ensuring local governments have at least 20% of the national budget. Dr. Hilary Barchuk is the governor of one of the counties of Bombay County. And he was a successful teacher of chemistry and mathematics for 10 years at the high school level. After receiving his doctorate, he joined Chukka University, where he rose to the rank of senior lecturer and then dean of the Faculty of Education and Resources Development. He left academia to stand as deputy governor alongside Governor Dr. Joyce Laboso, winning in a landslide. After the demise of Governor Laboso in 2019, he was sworn in as the 3rd governor of Bombay County. So with that brief introduction, it's my honor to pass the mic to the Honorable Dr. Hilary Barchuk. If you would like to unmute, we would love to hear your address.
Thank you, John, for that wonderful introduction. So Dr. John Conrod, I hope I pronounced your name very well.
Yes.
Co-founder and coordinator, Movement for Community-Led Development, and the Vice President at the Global Anger Project. All the MCLD global chapters presented today, including the Kenyan chapter led by Steve Okuti, who has introduced himself, the civil society, other development partners, government representatives, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are connecting from. It's a great pleasure that I get this rare opportunity to speak at this event. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this very important event. Thank you, John. I will share my thoughts on democracy, both at the national level and the county level of Bomet, where I'm the governor, as I've been introduced by Dr. John. Democracy in Kenya has grown since introduction of the multi-party democracy in 1992 and the promulgation of the current constitution in 2010. In between, we have gone into multi-party election around 6 times. Furthermore, the current constitution ushered in new levels of leadership at the county level, introducing the governor, the senator, women representatives, and members of the county assemblies. Of course, we have another upcoming election in 2022 in the month of August. And I would want to say, Dr. John and all the participants, that personally, from my own analysis, the best thing that has ever happened to this country was the introduction of the devolved government, because through that, the common man, the people who didn't have voice, can now have a say, because we are very close to them. The government is close to them, as opposed to when we are being governed under a centralized system of government. The benefits that have come with the system cannot be overemphasized. New roles have been constructed. Education systems have been expanded. Enrollment in schools have increased. Health facilities built and equipped. More people have been employed, and their livelihoods of the local have changed for the better. In short, every household in Kenya today has, to some extent, tasted the fruits of devolution. And that is why I'm saying it is the best thing that ever happened to this country. For now, we have just scratched the surface. There is more that needs to be done. Of course, we have challenges, one of which is the untimely disbursement of funds from the central government, that is the national treasury, that has led to insufficient funds for the county governments, leading to slow takeoff of key programs, projects, and activities. Bomet County is one of the 47 county governments that we have in Kenya. We have 47 county governments, and it is located 200 kilometers from the city of Nairobi in the western part of the country. It has a population of close to 1 million people, with the predominant economic activity being agricultural activities. The last few years have seen Bomet emerge as a serious socio-economic and political player. The reason behind this is that I was able to embrace the bottom-up approach, where I allowed key population drawn from the 5 constituencies. We have 5 constituencies in Bomet and 25 wards. And we grouped them into 20 different demographic groups, developed what we call home-based ideas. My government has over the years facilitated these groups to incubate their ideas, develop unique strategies, and oversee their implementation. The results have been wonderful. Movement for community-led development as well as thought out and tested programs, which if introduced fully in Bombay and anchored trying to adjust my screen. Sorry for that. Yeah, movement for community-led development as well as thought out and tested programs, which even introduced fully in Bombay, anchored with our existing systems and structure, will make Bombay emerge as a model county in the country for community-led participatory development. And we are committed to do that, Dr. John. Bottom-up and middle-out approach as initiated by the US President Joe Biden has spreaded live and revitalized community-led approaches in matters of development. These concepts allows the community to name, to own, to control, and manage projects at local levels where it also offers them rare opportunities to access them, protect them, sustain them for prosperity. My government, in partnership with the local communities, have seen the achievement of a number of projects and programs. And for your information, we have a policy on public participation that gives us a structured way of engaging with the community. Allow me to cite a few examples of how engaging communities can cause sustainable socioeconomic development. And I will give 2-3 cases. One is in the dairy project, where farmers from Jebalungu constituency, which is one of the 5 constituencies that we have in Bomet, these farmers came together under an umbrella body and saw an opportunity in local dairy industry. They brought on board other farmers from Bomet Central, that's another constituency that we have in Bomet. Bomet East, that's another constituency. And as far as Konoin and Sotig, encouraging them to rear hybrid dairy cows. As a result, my county government honored their effort by constructing a modern dairy processing plant that is 80% complete. In the next 2 months, we'll be able to open this facility. Once it is operational, the farmers, through their cooperatives, will sell their milk to the dairy plant. And the first customer that will be purchasing this milk from these farmers will be the county government of Bomet. And the reason why we are purchasing this milk is because we want to improve the nutritional status of our young children who are in early childhood development centers. So we have empowered them. We are also coming in as customers to their product that will be packaged in this facility. This will help us improve on enrollment, fight malnutrition, and raise literacy levels in the community, as much as we are empowering them economically. The other sector is, of course, where we have also participated actively in partnership with our farmers, is in the tea sector. The growing farmers in my county decided that they will not take the aggressive steps that other tea growers in other counties were taking by uprooting their tea due to the law and inconsistent payments. I think our farmers in the tea sector were a bit demoralized, and we had experiences where the farmers were uprooting this crop because of poor pay, because of the poor prices, probably in the international markets. When these farmers came, we discussed, and then they challenged my office to look beyond the conventional tea buyers. So we moved away from the traditional tea markets that we have. I took the challenge positively, knocked on several doors, and luckily we are able to secure markets outside the traditional markets that we have in Kenya. And currently we now have better tea prices, and my farmers, I can say, are relatively happy because of this improvement, and we are looking forward even to better prices in future. The other thing that I want to mention as an example of one way of engaging with the community in a very positive way to improve on the welfare of our people is the elderly men in Bombay felt that they were isolated by different programs and initiatives either from the national or the county governments. According to them, the government were putting more emphasis on youth and women, isolating the elderly men in the process. And I think this reason why they felt that they were being marginalized, I think is because of most of our programs that we have in the national government and the county government, we normally talk of women and the youth, because from our own maybe perceptions, we think that the youth and women are economically marginalized. And in the process, we have looked out a very important people in the society, the elderly. So I was able to engage them, and according to out of that engagement, 6 men came together and shared their ideas with my office. I saw their eyes, people that felt that their hopes is lost, their dignity taken from them, and their life shortened. Much as they had challenges, they also shared solutions to this challenge that we are facing us. I encourage them to bring on more elderly men sharing in their tribulations. And this has resulted in over 600 elderly men who have formed the Bombay Veteran Association, a unique network of men over 60 years of age. We normally describe them as senior citizens in the society, who share their experience with different quarters of the society. So they are now, I mean, the way they look at themselves and the way we are also looking at them now, they are people who are very active, sharing ideas, their experiences, not only among us themselves, but even with women and young people. Ladies and gentlemen, we would wish to inspire as many grassroots organizations to take part and play their rightful role in community development. We would wish to strengthen the teams and empower them through training. We would wish to open up avenues for this grassroots organization and create platforms for the exposure. We would wish to see a society that is just, productive, progressive, and sustainable in social and economic development. As Bombay County, we are looking forward to partnership that will assist us in implementing more community-led projects, programs, and activities. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Governor, for all that you're doing. And as a senior citizen myself, who has never been marginalized, but that you found every person and left no one behind. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
So our first speaker, let me pop up yet another slide, Chrome tab. Wonderful human rights activist from South Africa, Anita Dwaba. She's a 22-year-old human rights activist from Cape Town, South Africa. She's currently completing her postgraduate degree in journalism and media studies at Rhodes University. Anita is a Girl Up leader. Girl Up is a member of the movement and serves as an ambassador to USAID's Youth Lead and a Sub-Saharan ambassador to Peace First. She has a podcast. You can find this anywhere you get podcasts, called Let's Talk Activism. Anita, let me stop sharing and over to you.
Thank you so much, John. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all, depending on where you are in the world. As John said, I am Anita Dwaba from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm a Girl Up leader. I'm a journalist, and I am a human rights activist. It is an absolute honor to be here today speaking amongst these really phenomenal panelists. I've drawn so much insight from what the governor said in his opening remarks, and I'm sure you can all attest to that. So I will be speaking about the importance of local democracy, and I will be speaking from the context of South Africa. I'll be focusing a lot on local government elections that occurred on the 1st of November 2021, that is about a month ago. So in South Africa, the local government elections are a critical vote to cast, as the councillors that are to be elected are the ones that will deal with the very real issues that citizens face within their localities. So on the 1st of November, South Africans voted on a proportional representation ballot to vote for a party. So this party will be given seats in terms of the percentage of votes it receives. Each party then has a list of candidates, and councillors will then be drawn from that list. Also, there's a second ballot paper with various names of ward councillors from community members to vote for a ward councillor for their ward. And of course, the person with the most votes wins. Therefore, the local government structure in South Africa is divided into wards, which is headed politically by ward councillors. The aim is to bring the government closer to the people, because national and provincial governments are not suited to interact and engage with citizens at the grassroots level. So what this means is that ward councillors are community members, so they are part of communities. So they are best suited to deal with matters relating to that particular community, because they are from that particular community. So when it comes to local government, much emphasis is placed on service delivery. Of course, local government deals mainly with service delivery. So the local municipalities must put in place multi-sectorial plans focusing on community development, on issues such as how to curb crime, how to make public places much safer, and various other issues, of course. And this is done through communication and consultation with local communities. So the ward councillor must then be aware of what the policies are in place and what the plans are in place by the national and the provincial government, and how they can access things such as funds, skills training, and resources to build the community over a 5-year plan. So for example, if a community wants to develop farming or to farm a particular produce in an area, the ward councillor will then be the person that the community members will speak to, and they will know who to speak to obtain support for such a venture. So this is support through funding, technical support, through various departments, through liaising with various departments, such as maybe Department of Agriculture, maybe the Department of Small Businesses, or the Department of Trade, etc. So the ward councillor would then be able to find out which businesses to approach that might be interested in buying that particular produce. Another example would be if in a community learners do not have access to information about universities, maybe they need career guidance, maybe they need information on how to obtain bursaries and scholarships. This is the person that the community members will then go to would be the ward councillor, which will then direct and maybe establish initiatives and campaigns around that. I actually invited a ward councillor to this call. He is here, I think I saw him here, Zobanzi Ngwenja. In 2019, he was declared the youngest councillor in the history of South Africa. I know he runs a lot of campaigns and initiatives in the Eastern Cape province, similar to the ones that I've mentioned above. I know he's now currently running an initiative for prospective university students in Grahamstown to register for government scholarships. So yeah, now that I've highlighted the importance of local governance and local democracy, the voter turnout from the 1st of November has been dismal. So out of 26 million registered South African voters, only about 12 million, that's about 46%, actually went and cast their ballot. So voter participation is one of the indicators of a healthy democracy. So these numbers are very shocking, and they say quite a bit about the health of our democracy right now. So yeah, and this is a growing trend in South Africa, as we see very similar figures and voter turnout rates in 2019. And I actually produced a current affairs show highlighting voters' apathy, especially amongst young people. This was in 2019 for the national elections as well. And in the show, we saw that the trust deficit between the government and the citizens was the biggest reason for the dismal voter turnout. And many people cited corruption, maladministration, poor service delivery as reasons why they did not cast their votes. And I know some people view this apathy as a lack of interest to vote, as a threat to the country's democracy, and that's rightfully so. So the low turnout may indicate that none of the parties that are offered are what South Africans desire. Hence, they have no incentive to vote. In the future, I think we need to emphasize the importance of voting and the exercise of democracy. Now, also representation matters. We need young people vying for these leadership positions. And I think we need more young people also being part of civil society and coming up with ways that we can help our respective communities grow. I think these are some of the few ways in which we can help restore local governance in local communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. And I know a lot of us are looking forward to talking with you more in the breakout groups. So let me share a slide again. Not audio. So now I'm going to introduce one of these two gentlemen that's on the screen, Jack Calipenta. Apparently, and Jack, you'll tell me if I'm wrong, but I understand that Nathan has not been able to get an internet connection, so we won't be hearing from him. But for 26 years, Jack Calipenta, a linguistic anthropologist, has been involved in system strengthening for civil society. It was not until he began working with the Zambian Governance Foundation as a community facilitator that Jack got introduced to community-led development and local community philanthropy. Working directly with communities has made Jack realize that community-led development and local democracy are two sides of the same coin. He's convinced that until local communities take charge of their own development, there is no democracy. As he wisely says, hence all democracy is local. So with that, yes, over to you, Jack. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Hi,
And we see you.
to everyone. I think that this is a call from Nathan. Somebody could help me answer it. The colleague who is supposed to be in Solwezi is somewhere very far. Well, thanks very much, everyone, and John, for inviting us as Zambian Governance Foundation to take part in this very important discussion. Of course, from the onset, I would say that I'm not a politician. I'm a civil society person. And thanks, Honorable Doctor, for that nice presentation, and from South Africa, also for that beautiful, from the youth perspective. And I'm really impressed with so much data. And I think as Africa, we have a future. If we can have young people that can analyze such kind of, Anita, to have such kind of data to tell us about what it means to vote, democracy and development. I think that's a great thing we have. Thanks up for you, Anita, and the like you. Right. Yes, as Zambian Governance Foundation, we got formed in 2009 as a channel of donor support to the civil society. So even the name goes up to now, although we are changing it. When someone looks at the name like Zambian Governance Foundation, people say, are you government, or what are you doing in terms of governance? Really, most of the support we had, we were sub-granting to civil society to look at issues of governance. So that went on from about 2009 to around 2017. Then internally, as ZGF started asking ourselves, what impact are we seeing on the ground, despite all this money coming to support civil society? And of course, we know that during this period, again, the space for civil society participation in the country was really being squeezed because of the kind of governance system that we had. So coming to about 2018, as the Zambian Governance Foundation, we started thinking of new ways. Having been invited to South Africa, that is 2016 December, where there was this big meeting on community philanthropy. That was the beginning of our journey to date. And so our experience in the field of local governance or local democracy is that really when the people on the ground have no say on issues of governance, though they may cast their vote, they are basically only supporting a few individuals who pretend to represent them, yet at the same time, they're just fattening their own pockets. And so, as it is, what we are doing as Zambian Governance Foundation, or what we started doing from about 2018, to go to the ground, start learning the new ways. That's how we got connected even to the movement for community-led development and many other players in Shift the Power. What we have seen on the ground is amazing, in the sense that people, the local people on the ground, if they are well organized, then they will be able to participate effectively in the issues of their own governance. Unfortunately, there is this conspiracy where the people in the rural areas especially are left in the cold. One, digital divide. You find networks like broadcasting, whether it's radio or television, it's a nightmare. They don't get any news. Even when it comes to the issues of even the newspapers. Like my colleague who's supposed to be with me is in the Northwestern province. He was supposed to participate in this. I think it's the network issues of just how to get on the internet, you know, which I think in the West is something that is taken for granted, is really a big issue for our people on the ground. Now, we have a ray of hope. Now, in the past, the role of the civil society was more confrontational, like in this country, in Zambia, where it was about, hey, change things, you know, the government is not doing this and that. So that went on for some time. And so the civil society was mostly suspected to be agents of, you know, the donor community. But of course, we've seen that support that is going directly to the civil society in issues of governance is weekly getting lower and lower. And so with the coming in, of course, from August 2012, we have now a new government in Zambia, which calling them, which were I think the name they're calling themselves the New Dawn government, in the way that it's like a shift in the paradigm in the way things have been. In the past, for many years, since support to the local government or support to the constituencies was coming from the central government, each constituency, we have, by the way, in Zambia, we have 156 constituencies. So on paper, each constituency was given an allocation of something like $94,118, which is about 1,600,000 kwacha, which never went down there. You know, they could be given just in bits and pieces. Now, for the first time, the government that is in power is giving each constituency something, let me just look at the figure while I was jotting it down. Okay, the amount that is set aside now, okay, is $1,511,665 per constituency. And then what the government is saying that this money will go directly to the constituency. Now, I think somewhat the civil society that was standing to confront the government, I think that they're now like on the crossroads now to see what is our new role in this kind of change of events. Having this huge amount of money, already others are saying, look, it's too much. These people are not ready. The people on the ground are not ready to handle this huge amount of money. But I think what we are realizing as Zambian Governance Foundation, that now is our time as civil society to really work very closely to the structures in the constituencies, and especially more so at the ward level, and now try to like what we had before, which was just a small piece of us, like looking at active citizenship, trying to ensure that these communities should hold the duty bearers accountable, so that this money really comes to the ground for the people to be determining their own development. And so basically that's a path. For example, I can just give an example, like one constituency where we are operating, which is Samba constituency in central province of Zambia. This constituency has 10 wards. And this particular ward, and of the 10 wards, we're operating in one ward. And these 10 wards, and this particular ward, one of the wards we're operating in has got 7 zones. So it's a question of interpreting this amount, $1,511,000 kwacha, $11,765. How much will come down to the zone? And the zone, basically, our governance system such that the zone elects zone facilitators who together from different zones form the ward development committee. And these are the people now that will be looking at the money that are coming on the ground. So then, instead of our people on the ground just looking at themselves as mere voters to vote for people that won't come back to them, who only come after 5 years, it's now for them to work day by day with the leaders that are electing to ensure that the local community is putting in place plans that will tap into the funds that will be coming to them. And this is starting like January next year. So it's a very exciting moment for us. For example, when we started with the community-led development intervention as local or community philanthropy, the idea was that because the communities are supposed to contribute to their own development, they're supposed to bring money together, whatever assets they have, so that since the government was failing them, they should be able to mobilize resources or assets, whether social, moral, reputational, financial, to promote their own development. Now with this window of hope that is coming through, which has come through again, is the youth mostly in this country that brought in this new government, then it's time for the young people on the ground and the women on the ground to ensure that they take charge of their own development.
Right.
Thank you.
Jack, this is very exciting. Congratulations. This was a political shift that I wasn't even aware of in Zambia. That's just wonderful news. Thank you so much for giving us such detail on it too. This is great.
Thank you.
Okay, our final speaker. Let me share the slide again. Tabs, slides. Nope. Let's see, do I still have share it? Okay, my colleague, Veda Bharadwaja, is the Senior Programming Officer at the Hunger Project India. Now, this is going to, she anchors the Hunger Project's advocacy strategy, as well as the Adolescence Girl portfolio, and oversees programs in Rajasthan and Uttarakhand. She holds master's degrees from Jawaharlal Nehru University and the Institute of Development Studies, which is home to my development guru, Robert Chambers. THP India's program has worked with nearly 200,000 elected women representatives on village councils known as Gram Panchayats across India. Veda, over to you.
Thank you, John. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's
Veda,
an honor.
When you want your video shown, just let me know and I'll show the video.
Sure. So
Okay.
I think, I just quickly welcome everyone again. And thank you, John, and for the movement for this space and this platform. And I look forward to sharing a few experiences that we've had while strengthening elected women's leadership in village councils and working with adolescent girls. John, please, there's just a very short video that we would like to show you. It's about this elected woman leader from one of the eastern states of India called Orissa. And this is during the COVID times. One of the main things that the Hunger Project in India has done is also advocate and also look at how elected women leaders need to be also identified as frontline workers, because they've done some commendable work during the COVID, especially during the lockdowns that we've had. So thank you, John. Just the video, please. Thank you.
एटा बहुत पहाड़िया अंचल एटी आमर सब सुंदर देखा जाउची किंतु तितली भली कोनोसी साइक्लोन कोनोसी मरुडी आसले एटी पूरा ध्वंस हो जाउची एटी आमर बहुत आदिवासी लोक अछंती जीवन यापन करिया बहुत असुविधा सेमानकर चलनी पई सेमान बाहर को मध्य पळांती काम पई सरपंच हेबागर जानिथिली जे ए समस्या गुडक मु सम्मुखीन हेबी बोली भाबिथिली निज पंचायत मध्य सेमती संभाळी आगु नै पारे बोली मु आशा करछु महिला सरपंच निर्वाचित हेक आसिले भलो बोली भाबछु आमे मध्य जेमती घर तुले पारछु ये संभाळी पारछु
तो प्रधान के बारे में आपको सबसे अच्छा क्या लगता है?
माने आगरे के हेले हेतिले टिके डर लागिथिला किंतु एबे डर लागुनी कोन पे बोले तांके भी आमा पूरी महिला ना सेति पे आमे डायरेक्ट तांके जाय के कथा हे परबो हमर कोन प्रॉब्लम हेले डायरेक्ट कहि परबो ताके कम कोहंती किंतु कामडा बहुत भलो करंती
माने गां रे पानी पीवा पानी बहुत असुविधा होथार से आसकरी से सोलर बसैकरी पानी टैंक बसैले तापर ख्रिस्टियन साई को भी तापर प्रत्येक पंचायत प्रत्येक गांव को भी बसैले
The number of cases has crossed the 10,000 mark.
पूरे हिंदुस्तान में लॉकडाउन लागू हो चुका है ओडिशा रे प्रथम कोरोना आक्रांत चिन्हट हेबा परे आज स्थिति सेतेटा भी नियंत्रण को आसी नाही
डर लागुला जो मोर छुआटा थिला जतला आम कोरोना हेले मु कार सेवा करि परिबि नै ए डरटा मते रहिथिला डर मते थिला साहस मते थिला गोटे थर तो समस्त जाई बुझे कहवाटा समय मिल नथिला हमको सेते माइक सेट रे 2-3 थर एमती अनाउंस करथु सब प्रत्येक गां जाई बुली कहि रेकॉर्डिंग करके 4टा कोविड सेंटर खोला जाइथिला पंचायत रे भद्र व्यक्ति मानु डाकी पंचायत रे मीटिंग करथली आशा अंगनवाड़ी मीटिंग करथली किछटा साहाय्य कला
स्ट्रॉन्ग लीडरशिप तो बहुत मेन इंपोर्टेंस अच्छी लोकों मध्य मिसकनसेप्शन जोड़ा रोचे फास्ट से दूर करा पड़े
बाकी सब काम करी और रांधियाटा बोले मत बहुत कष्ट से जा रांधि दो ना मु खाई देबी गाड़ी रे सब दिन जाउथले मु देखुथली आले हम अप्पा को पचारली कोन पई से सब दिन देखो जे बदमाश बोली मधे कहिथली
इंटरेस्ट से साइकिल रे आसवार बुलिया पे कथा बार 1 ईयर परे हमरो लव आरंभ होला रिसेंट वर्ष 6 मास भीतर हमरो लव सक्सेस है कि हमें मैरिज पे स्थिर कर जाल ब्राह्मण कास्ट मु से एसटी मैरिज होला परे किंतु घरे बाध्य कले जे गाली गलज कर मु दिशारे बाध्य है कि ताको धरी
समस्त तो समान मनुष्य बोली भाबी मु से जाति धर्म रे मु कोन से मान सम्मान साहस मु जोटी भूल काम करनी मु काहे डरबी जाऊ
थोड़ी पैकेट सरो चटक भाई सॉरी
मेरे हिसाब से होते बहुत मजाक करती है गुस्सा नहीं करती ज्यादा पढ़ाई नहीं करती हूँ तो थोड़ी गुस्सा करती है
शिक्षा होची बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट खाली ताको पाठ टिके भल पढ़ बोली कहूँ आम मैट्रिक पढ़ी मुझे तो सरपंच हो पारे तू मध्य भल पाठ पढ़ी कौन हो पारू बोली मु बुझाए झील को पाठ रे ध्यान देवा पड़े
जोटा कहले से आमर कथा से शुणुचे ता कथा आम शुणु चलु सेटा मध्य ए झील को देखी आ पाठ साठ पढ़ी ये जमती जाऊे आम आग दिन आम भल रहा तार शिक्षा देवा शिक्षा अनुसार आम चलवा बोली से कथा अनुसार रही
गरीब परिवार बोली बापा मु सबुदिन गरीब कथा शुणे किंतु मु आज झील मो बापा थिले बहुत खुशी था बोली भावुली
Okay, Veda, back to you.
Right. Thank you, John. So this was just one of the glimpses of the kind of work that the elected women leaders that the Hunger Project has engaged with have done, and especially given the external context we have of COVID-19. But what I really want to talk about is that the reason women like Jamuna Devi managed to assume leadership positions as well is because there was a 73rd constitutional amendment which was introduced in India in '93, and it basically a formal mechanism in which quotas were introduced. Apart from the quotas for women and for marginalized caste groups, we do have a very differentiated and discriminatory system of caste system in India. So the whole idea behind quotas was to get these caste groups, the marginalized groups, women into positions of power. And it also, the 73rd Constitutional Amendment also devolved power to the local bodies. So in closest proximity, the whole idea is that you choose your elected leaders and then you have quotas. in closest proximity. Who else would know what is really required to localize the development agenda? And since then, the formal processes have also shifted and translated into a series of interventions that a lot of civil society organizations and individuals have taken up in India to really, just by introducing quotas or just by having these formal mechanisms doesn't really operate on its own. You also have to, and we all know that in our own workspace, we also have to take those additional measures in the informal spaces so that you can really push the agenda or the whole principle on which it was meant for. So, so for instance, we've had the right to movement in India, which was actually started from the grassroots movement to demand accountability from the government officials regarding food security. And similarly, where the elected women leaders or quotas are there, a lot of these women are first-time public office holders. So what that definitely entails is that here is a woman, and there is, in fact, even more burden and pressure on her to perform. Although she could be uneducated, she is from a marginalized caste background or class background, but she's the first time she is in a public domain. So this is where some of the successful interventions that have worked for us is that to really build their capacities. And from there, we've also seen how the informal spaces in a village council also works to work, like Jack had mentioned about making duty bearers accountable. So we've also translated that work into looking at, we are working with the duty bearers, which are the elected leaders, which are the elected women leaders. Now also let's look at the citizenship component of it, where an intervention where we have, which is a village awareness platform, which basically is a site for political learning. And it also includes men. In Uttarakhand, in fact, that's what I was supposed to be right now. It also includes men, it also includes youth, where if you start early, it really works to really get the people active, to really claim that, look, this is the development that you would want, what is it that you can do? Not only just holding your elected leaders accountable, but what is it you as a citizen can do? So in these sites have become very important political learning, these informal spaces, which we often forget, because a lot of times the traditional domains of formal politics, which is there, the institutional mechanisms we have, you also need to work in tandem with informal. And we've also learned this through a lot of learnings, failures, tweaked the program, figured it out, and it continues in the making. One of the main things which I would cite as an example has been how we've to start early with adolescent girls, because a lot of times to see them as citizens of their community, these conversations really don't have, nobody really has it with them. So to introduce the concept of, say, citizenship, to introduce the concept of saying, okay, if this is a particular problem in your school, and we've had instances where these girls we've collectivized the girls, and they said, we don't like the way our school teacher touches us. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? You know, there is something that you can also do. And with our parallel program of working with the elected women leaders, who are also presidents, who are also ward members, so you get them together and you say, talk, and you get them together in their space itself where they are the most comfortable. And petitioning, advocacy with the district administration, with the authorities. So in that way, you know, it has yielded some results in which we've had some of the adolescent girls who have graduated from our program, who also looking as a role modeling effect of seeing some of these women leaders doing the work that they've done, to also aspire to contest elections. So in fact, one of the states which is very feudal and very patriarchal as well, called Rajasthan, in the last elections, we had 7 of these young adults who had graduated from our program who also contested village council elections. So if you start early and start talking about these conversations, we've realized it really makes a difference. I'll quickly get into the barriers of it, just to say it's a thing in progress. You cannot just do it overnight, and we've also learned, and I would love to talk to all of you during the breakout session, because I believe we are running a little short on time. But yeah, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. We've had some political exclusion of women, of youth, of marginalized caste groups, especially during COVID, because there's just so much of economic disparity, informal labor force, poverty, which is, and especially food security. India has had recently, we've come out with even more dismal numbers in which our food security, our malnutrition numbers has increased even more. So there's a lot to be done, and it's happening on the ground. Yeah. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you, Veda. Thank you to all of our speakers, and I'm really delighted that our speakers will be able to join you individually. So we're going to have 20 minutes of breakout groups, and Sarah has set it up. So Sarah, if you show them the list, and then you get to pick your own breakout group and click on it and go into it. So let's do that. And speakers, you'll need to pick your breakout group. You'll know which one it is.
So the rooms are open, but I think each of you needs to go to the bottom where it says breakout room, and then the list will pop up for you.
I don't see that. So were people able to get to their breakout groups?
It looks like a few people are joining, yeah.
Okay, great. I guess as a co-host, I don't get to do that.
I can also assign people if they're confused.
Yeah, okay, assign me to one or to the. Okay, welcome everybody back. Let's see, how are we doing getting everyone back? Apologies to the governor and everybody who were cut off in the middle of their speaking. The Zoom people do everything automatically when they close the breakout rooms, but I know ours was very interesting. Let me just touch base on a few of the breakout groups. Anita, how was yours? And what's one thing that everyone should take away from your group?
Yeah, so our group was really great. We did have a bit of silent moments, but we soldiered on. I think a couple of key points that were made was the discussion around youth engagement. And I think Mohammed was the one to point this out about how he's not seeing young people being a part of conversations like these, being a part of activist groups, and he only sees them in protests. And I think that's something I could relate back to South Africa as well. And we had a conversation around it. And I think we sort of came to the consensus that a lot of that comes from the anger and the frustration that young people are experiencing in these communities. Hence, given the chance to revolt, they will revolt. I think I kind of also touched on privilege in a way. A lot of young people do not come from comfortable households in South Africa, and I'm assuming in Senegal as well, do not come from privileged households, so they do not have the kind of leisure to sit and think about societal problems and how to address those problems, because their main focus is how they are going to feed themselves for that night.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so yeah, so we touched on a couple of things, and we touched on social media and activism, and how social media has driven activism, and how we use social media as a form of as a platform to mobilize people, and how that then spills over into the streets, and how it also connects us globally and sort of includes voices in a way that are often excluded. And we also say this with a pinch of salt, because I made the example of how South Africa has the highest data rates in the world. So as much as we say it's including, it's also excluding in a way.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we touched on that nuance as well. So yeah.
Wow. Thanks,
fruitful
Anita.
discussion.
So what's one takeaway from your group, Jack? Are you still with us, Jack?
I'm still here. I think.
Oh, great.
Yeah, sure. One takeaway is that first, the civil society must ask themselves whose agents they are. you know, that's very critical. And then if we are with the people who are the rights holders, then it's our responsibility to ensure that whether in high literacy levels, we get engaged with them to ensure that the community get engaged in their own development.
Right.
Sure.
Very good. Thanks, Jack. And Veda, how was your group? What's one takeaway from that?
So we had some very interesting discussions on what are the kind of, especially Miriam from Kenya had raised that what are the kind of challenges faced by women to enter decision making and the commonalities that exist across countries as well. And I think it was an important discussion around how, and especially in the movie that was shown as well, that she got support of her husband and how it's important to engage with men as well in this pursuit of inclusive decision making that we have, and at the same time also to look at how you also need to focus on some of these really marginalized groups that need, in the spirit of inclusion, not to forget them as well, in which some special measures need to be taken. So it was quite an interesting one. We got cut short when Pascal asked a very important discussion on the accountability mechanisms that are there to get citizens' voices into place in the rural and the urban area. So I will answer to you separately, Pascal. We'll connect.
Wonderful, very good. And Governor, if you're still with us, would you like to have any last comments from your conversation that our computers interrupted?
Yeah. So thank you very much, John. Though we didn't have a lot of time, but I would want to say, as much as we want to encourage community development in their own development, this participation, we need to endeavor to have a structured way of engaging the community, one that is backed by the law or a policy. Otherwise, of course, we have so many groups that are working with us in the lowest level, in the communities, in the villages. But unless we have a very structured manner of relating with the community and with these organizations, those good ideas that we have that will be generated will just go to waste, because it will not be put as part of the policy or part of the programs that we have in the government. So I think we have a network all the way from our offices of the government down to the village level, so that whatever is generated, whatever discussion we'll be making, those ideas that are practically can be adopted are actually escalated to the relevant departments within the government. So I think we need to sensitize, especially the elected leaders, so that they support these structures, they put in place the laws that are relevant, the policies, and through that I want to believe that we'll have fruitful discussion and engagement that will be beneficial to the community. Otherwise, those ideas will just go to waste because no one will take them.
Exactly. Thank you, Governor. And thank you all, everyone who participated today. It's been a wonderful discussion. The next steps is that the recording of this event and relevant links, like the link to the wonderful video that Veda shared with us, that will all be on the mcld.org website very shortly today, as soon as the Zoom machine finishes processing it. And then we'll also be notifying everybody about our next meetings. The next membership meeting is on the 15th at 9 a.m. It should already be in your Eastern time. That should already be in your calendars. And we're expecting to have a release from USAID very shortly of their local capacity development strategy. And we are going to engage with that and meet with them on that. And so as soon as that gets sorted out, and it should get sorted out the next day, we'll be sending out a notification to everyone about that. Gunjan, did I say that correctly? She has been our
Yes, absolutely. So expect to hear from us, within the next couple of days on the new policy that's coming out and, the workshop that is being organized by MCLD on the policy to get feedback and to make sure it's, we can convey it to USAID.
Good. And I think once USAID does that, hopefully that will encourage a lot more countries to follow the good advice of the governor to have a real mechanism for citizen engagement with local governance. So with that, and with all the thanks to our speakers, to the governor, to his office that facilitated this, to all that took notes and asked questions and carved out time in their day to be with us. Thank you very much. And now, if you want to unmute and say goodbye to everyone, that's how we say goodbye here. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Sarah, I think we can close the call.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye.